Okay, so in this session, I just wanted to go over the exercises that come from the Python for Biologists book. Now, again, remember that these answers are usually all at the back of the book. Sometimes just if I have an alternative that I want to show, then I will also do the exercises with you. But you can follow along and just see the way that the book did it. Sometimes mine will slightly vary, but obviously that's just because that we each have our own methods of doing certain things. So in the first exercise in the book, it tells us we're going to split genomic DNA, which is what we did in session 1 as well, except for then they gave us a DNA sequence as is. So basically as if somebody would read it to you, and we had to put that straight into a variable name. Now they're saying we're doing it the way that it's usually done, in that your sequence is contained within a DNA file. In this case, this is in the same sequence that we used previously in chapter 1, now sits in a file called genomicdna.txt, and they want us to do whatever we did in chapter 1 or in session 1, but instead of now printing everything out to our screen or to stand it out, they want us to do it the way, again, that we would normally do it, in the sense that we are printing the introns to one file and the exons to another file. So I just want to show you again, you go through this thinking process when you see this code, and obviously one of the first things you're going to go is, okay, there's a file, I'm going to need to open the file, I'm going to need to read that file, then I'm going to need to open 2 files for writing my data to it, and then I'm going to have to write the data to it. Luckily for us, and this is the nice thing again about programming, is that once you start coding, you will start to reuse some of your code. You will start to remember that you did something before, so they can just copy that code and then just adjust it for whatever you're doing when you're solving this particular problem. So for us, in our case, for example, this part, I'm just going to make this a bit bigger. This part was already done in the previous session. Remember, we had to split the exons from the introns that were laying in the center, and then we concatenated the 2 sets of exons to each other. And then, yeah, you remember that. So we're just going to copy the code, and if you weren't there, you didn't follow what we did because you didn't watch session 1, just go through some of those videos, because in one of the exercises, I think it's called something about extracting exons and introns, we did this. But so we're copying basically this code, and then we're starting from there onwards. Okay, so if you haven't done that before, just try and do that. The Python, there's a link at the bottom of this video also showing you where you can find the Python for Biologists book that we're using, and where you can find the files such as this genomic DNA.txt file that we're using. And then obviously you can save it to wherever is convenient for you. So you can pause it here and attempt this, and then come back to it and see if you can come up with the same answer. Or, for example, like I said, the answers are also at the back of the book, so I will just show another alternative or the best practice way to do it. Okay, so if you have attempted this, then you would have had something similar to this. Now, you should know about creating variable names by now. Now, in this case, our variable names are holding or storing objects, file objects, and storing files that we're going to read. So I named mine infile, and again, we just learned previously about the open function, and you can see over here there's nothing, there's no comma, so there's no second argument given, so this will be open by default for reading. But I've had to stipulate write for the 2 write files. Now, as you can see here, I'm also putting the path in there because my genomicdna.txt file is on my desktop, and then I am also then because I want the output files to be printed where the genomic DNA.txt file is. I've put that in, but you can of course specify where you want your output files to be printed to. But here we had to put a W in there, and again I've named it intuitively. I know when I see that the file is coming in, I know that this is my output file for my coding sequence, and this is for the non-coding sequence. But now remember again, like we said, this is just, in this case over here, as well as here, this is just opening the file, but this file isn't actually being read, or a method needs to be used to make sure that this file is actually being read. Okay, and you can see that I've commented throughout. Again, you've learned about commenting in the first session, so make sure that you comment throughout. So I'm saying now I'm going to read the file, so I'm calling this my genomic DNA is equal to this file that I've opened for reading dot read. Okay, and then I'm just pasting this code, and again I've commented what I've done. I just pasted this code here, and then I proceed to go and say output file, output coding dot write, because again I've named that file as such. And this is my entire line with my exons on it. So I just say write this to this file by using the dot write method, which is that. Okay, you will remember it looks like this dot write, and it takes an argument. This is the method, so I just use this and told it what to write it to. Now of course, because I'm using this method, I need to remember to close all of it. So I've got my in file, output coding and output non-coding files all closed. Okay, and then these files should be on your desktop. Okay, so I just wanted to show you though that the better solution would be to use this. I've already done when we did the theory, but just to show you again, is to use the with open function. And I've already explained in the theory how I'm able to use these escape characters and commas in order to open them all at once using the with open function. But essentially it's doing exactly the same thing. All of this is the same. One of the things that we've also learned here is to strip. I always strip from both ends just to make sure that I don't have any characters that's going to give me something that I didn't expect.